Many Kenyans know my name. They know my face, they know my voice.
Have you ever had a voice so unforgettable that you knew exactly who was speaking before you even looked at the screen? For millions of Kenyans, that voice belonged to Johnson Mwakazi.
My name is Johnson Mwakazi. I'm a television anchor here in Nairobi, Kenya.
Every morning, his calm, commanding voice entered homes across the country. He became one of the most trusted faces on Citizen TV. Then, at the peak of his career, he was gone. No public drama, no emotional farewell, just silence. Some believed he had been pushed out. Others thought he had simply chosen to walk away. But the real story is far more surprising than most people realize. The biggest battle Johnson Mwakazi ever fought wasn't in front of a camera. It began years earlier in the narrow streets of Kibra, and it would shape one decision that stunned many of his fans. So what really made him leave one of Kenya's biggest television stations? And where did that decision lead him? Stay with us as we uncover the untold story behind Johnson Mwakazi's journey, from the hardships of Kibra to the difficult decision that changed his life forever. We first have to go back to where his journey began, because for a long time, success seemed almost impossible. Johnson was born and raised in Kibra, one of Africa's largest informal settlements, where every day was a struggle to survive. He was the youngest of 7 children, and life at home was anything but easy. His mother worked as a house help in Nairobi's Woodley estate, earning only 3,000 shillings a month, barely enough to feed the family. His father, battling alcoholism, was unable to provide, leaving almost the entire burden on his mother's shoulders. Then life dealt an even crueler blow. Johnson lost both of his parents while he was still young. For many children, that would have been the end of their dreams. But in 2006, his stepfather became his guardian and gave him stability he desperately needed. It was a second chance, one that would completely change the course of his life. What happened next is remarkable. The boy who grew up in the streets of Kibra would soon discover a gift that would make his voice known in millions of homes across Kenya. Johnson Mwakazi's breakthrough did not begin behind a news desk. It began on a stage. As a young boy, he joined the Kibra theater group as an actor, where his gift for storytelling and commanding an audience quickly caught people's attention. Before long, he was performing at the Kenya National Theatre. Then came the opportunity that changed his life. One of the theater facilitators noticed something extraordinary. It wasn't just Johnson's acting, it was his voice. Deep, powerful, and impossible to forget. The facilitator introduced him to the world of voice-over artistry, opening a door Johnson had never imagined. That introduction changed everything. Johnson landed voice-over gigs with Hot 96 FM, and word about his voice began to spread through Nairobi's media circles. Everywhere he went, people remembered that voice. Then, in 2014, another opportunity arrived.
Welcome to Citizen in a Minute. I'm Johnson Mwakazi.
Citizen TV, which is also owned by Real Media Services, the same company behind Hot 96 FM, invited him to join its popular Power Breakfast show as a news anchor. Johnson Mwakazi, a young man with no university degree, no media school certificate, nothing but a high school education and ordinary voice, landed a lucrative job. He earned the job simply through his talent, confidence, professionalism, and a voice that set him apart from everyone else. Think about that for a second. In an industry obsessed with credentials, Real Media Services looked past the paperwork and hired him purely because of what came out of his mouth. It didn't take long before he became a household name across the country. Every morning, millions of Kenyans woke up to his calm delivery, commanding presence, and unmistakable voice. For several years, Johnson Mwakazi became one of the defining faces of Real Media Services. But behind the success, a decision was quietly taking shape, one that would surprise viewers across the country. Then came the moment nobody expected. One morning, viewers switched on Citizen TV, but Johnson wasn't there. Days turned into weeks, weeks became months. Word eventually spread. Johnson Mwakazi had left Citizen TV. Almost immediately, speculation spread. Some believed he had been dismissed. Others wondered if there had been disagreements behind the scenes. But according to Johnson himself, the truth was far less dramatic. After several years at the station, he felt it was time to grow beyond what Citizen TV could offer him. He wanted something new. So he made one of the biggest decisions of his life. He walked away from one of the most secure and prestigious jobs in Kenyan television. It was a decision driven by purpose, not controversy. But leaving Citizen TV meant leaving behind certainty. And soon, Johnson would discover that starting over came with a price he never expected. After leaving Citizen TV, Johnson Mwakazi joined Awesome TV, better known as WTV. He first served as the station's editorial director before eventually becoming the chief executive officer, or the CEO. On paper, it looked like the perfect next chapter. Instead of simply reading the news, he was now leading an entire television station. But behind the scenes, the station was fighting a battle few people knew about. Then came the devastating blow. In December 2016, WTV declared bankrupt. Broadcasting came to a halt. The screens went dark. More than 50 employees lost their jobs almost overnight. For Johnson, it was the most painful moment of his professional career.
The darkness is better than lighting up a candle.
He has openly described the closure of WTV as the lowest point of his career, a heartbreaking experience that tested its resilience like never before. For a moment, it looked as though Johnson Mwakazi's career in the media industry was over. But what happened next? No one saw it coming. Johnson Mwakazi's story didn't end with the collapse of WTV. He rather founded Roll Voice International, a communications and public relations company specializing in voiceover production, corporate training, media consultancy, and audiovisual production. Today, his unmistakable voice can still be heard across Kenya in commercials, documentaries, corporate production, and television promotions. But here's the part that surprises many Kenyans. Even after leaving Citizen TV years ago, the station never stopped believing in his voice. Citizen TV remains one of his clients to this day. In fact, if you listen carefully to many of the station's promotional campaigns and advertisements, there's a good chance you are listening to Johnson Mwakazi. It's a remarkable full circle moment. The station he once called home still trusts him to be one of its voices. That says everything about the professionalism, talent, and reputation he built over the years. From the slums of Kibra to the biggest breakfast show in Kenya, to rock bottom and back to Reinvention, Johnson Mwakazi's story is proof that a setback isn't always the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more inspiring stories about Kenya's biggest personalities. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.